Oh, good evening, folks. I hope you're well. Hope you like the new specs. Yes, three pairs for a tenner off eBay. And now I've put them on, I thought, my God, what have I been missing? Anyway, I don't need them for doing what I'm doing right now, so I'll take them off, give the bridge of my nose such that it is a rest. The topic for this evening's video might offend, I suppose. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there, really. And I warn you now, it sounds terribly arrogant. But I'm just being honest. I think that's a rare thing nowadays, just to be honest. Um, what I mean arrogant, it means that maybe you feel the same way, but you just haven't voiced your true opinion about things. Um, where to start? Okay, what's a tough one, really, because I suppose as the beginning is a good place to start. Um, I don't want to make it all about me, but I have to. If I'm going to talk about my experience and my take on things, only to get your thoughts, and maybe you will comment underneath my videos to tell me what your thoughts are, because quite frankly, I'm a bit of a loner. And yeah, Billy no mates. Well, I've got some mates. I've got about 5 mates, and they're really good mates, but I don't have deep, meaningful conversations with them. I like my own company, and I need me time more than most, I suppose, because I'm perfectly happy with the one inside that I talk to, and that's we've all got that person in our head, haven't we? The problem with being a loner is that if you're not careful, you can come across as being a little bit arrogant, a little bit cold, a bit of an oddball, not a team player, a misfit. There's lots of names for people like me. Snob, that's always one. Not an intellectual snob at all, but just a snob. And I'm not rich. But you don't have to be rich to be a snob. You can be a cultural snob. You can be a race snob. You can be any kind of snob you want, really. You get people who are broke as church as mice, driving a nice car, and are snobby to those people who don't want to spend that much money on a car and don't drive a nice car. They're snobby. And this horrible propensity for human beings to compare one another by what we possess, which is a total piece of shit, quite frankly, because a lot of people driving stuff and living in nice houses inherited it and never worked a day in their lives for it. In fact, they wouldn't have it if their mummy and daddy or uncle, auntie, grandmother never left it. And this is what's the problem with inheritance on such things, on large amounts of property. It's inevitable that sooner or later some tossers is going to inherit it down the line, because when everybody's, it's like the big fish eats a slightly smaller fish, and the smaller fish, and goes on, doesn't it? And eventually the tosser at the end ends up owning the lot, or enjoying the lot, the fruits of the labour of all the other fish. I'm not impressed with people who live in big houses, who inherit them, or been born into money. Quite frankly, it doesn't impress me much. In fact, they're quite repellent people, because I think that in order to gain any benefit in life is to work for it. And when you've earned things by the sweat of your brow and the labour-intensive things that you've managed to make, it's a little bit like having steel. You can have steel, but it's weak. You've got to temper the steel by heating it and cooling it, and heating it and cooling it, and dipping it in more hot, cold oil, and then cooking it again, and into the oil it goes. You've got to really put it through its paces, and you end up with some tremendously strong steel, tempered steel. That's what you want to build swords with. not some mealy-mouthed piece of steel that's just come from Hong Kong or Japan. But you could use the same analogy on people. And some of the greatest people I've ever met have been the most humble people. Some of the most highest achievers in life have been very humble and very reserved, and you wouldn't think they had it in them until you do look at their background and do check their credentials. And you think, I can't believe it. This little old lady or this wonderful old man, you know. And I interviewed a lot of old people. I went round once and I was planning to write a book. In fact, I did write the book, and I can't for the life of me find the transcripts, quite honestly. It was called Tales from the Trenches. And what I wanted to do was to go around, and I started to do it at nursing homes and rest homes, and I recorded conversations with old folk who were survivors and participants of the First World War, whether it be female or male, because all these old people in nursing homes are desperate to tell their story. Otherwise they sit there looking out the window. Oh, they just got so much to learn. We have so much. We have living history in our nursing homes and rest homes, as I speak to you now, that is just going to wither away and be put in a box. And I urge you, as a project, if you want to do a project that's going to wake you up and be worthwhile, is to get yourself a digital tape recorder, digital recorder, and spend an afternoon a week maybe just to go around the nursing homes, take a box of biscuits in, and ask to speak to some of the residents, and they love it. And show an interest in them and say, tell me about your life. What was your childhood like? What was the good things? What was the bad things? What did you like most about it? What broke your heart? Did you ever have a man that broke your heart? Or what about the women in your life if you're talking to an old man? And I recorded these things, you know. And I was going to put them verbatim straight off the tape recorder into a book. And I lost the lot. I lost it in a house move, quite frankly. But I was going to call it, especially with the older boys, some of the old soldiers, you know, Tales from the Trenches. I remember writing chapters of it. I do remember this. And I lost it. And it was one of the biggest regrets in my life that I lost that. I put a lot of work into it. I say a lot of work. I was at it for 4.5 months. But my work got in the way of doing that. And I wish now that I could do it all again. But I simply, quite frankly, don't have the time. And the time possibly won't be worth the investment. But what do we do with all these old folk? We just stick them in nursing homes, smelling of piss and catheters and colostomy bags, and they're sitting there playing. Well, the old girls are doing their knitting, and if they've still got the marbles. Well, most of them have their rest homes, you see, rest homes where they are mentally competent. They have their song to sing, and they're looking for somebody to record their song, and nobody seems to be wanting to do this. And there's a huge fascination. But this is living history, folks. We need to record these stories. You know? And if you want a project, I recommend you go and do that. And it'll open your eyes. You realise that in front of you isn't just a wrinkled old piece of DNA, a human being that's got a catheter and staring into space. They've all got their song to sing, and they will sing it. They just want an audience. You don't have to say a lot, folks. You just got to ask appropriate questions. Ask every one of them a list of 20 questions, and ask them all the same questions, and you'll get 20 wonderful stories. And stories that other people will be interested in reading about, you know. These are real factual stories, and you can with their permission, take a little photograph of them. So, do you mind if I put your photograph in the book? They'll be delighted. And then you can self-publish. What an exercise in that is. It's an appreciation of the old people that have got us where we are. And we're grateful for them. I'm grateful to them. It breaks my heart. If I have any regrets about life, is that I mislaid that lot. And my wife was saying, well, just start again. There's plenty of old folk. But the problem is, the old folk that I interviewed at that time, there were many survivors from 1914 war. They were the ones, and I had a couple of First World War pilots amongst them lot, gone. And I thought, my God, they're dead now. I've missed it, I've lost it, because there's no World War I pilots left alive in our country anymore. They're probably not around at all. They're gone now, we've lost it. I could have even released these things as a tape recording. You know, digital format, but oh, what an opportunity. One of the biggest regrets of my life was not taking that too seriously. I always put it off till tomorrow. And I'd come to look for these things and they'd gone. I couldn't find them at all. Heartbreaking amount of work I put into that. Tales from the trenches. One of the guys I particularly remember was talking about his time as a medic. Stretcher bearer medic, that's what they were in the First World War. And boy, we think we have it tough. I spoke to soldiers and mothers of soldiers who were in Ypres, Flanders Fields, other ones in France. You know, there was 3 or 4 of them, the big battles that were going on. The Somme was particularly bad. But the worst one was Ypres. I think it's Y-P-E-S, I'm not sure about the spelling. These were horrors, these were quagmires of mud. And the heartbreak, of course, is that they talked a lot about the sadness in their hearts, about watching horses being blown to bits. And horses, I mean, what truck did horses have, excuse the pun, in the war? You know, you've got to feel sorry for the abuse that those horses went through. They gave their heart and soul, didn't they, those horses? I'm a big admirer of horses. But I don't think they look right with human beings sat on their backs. I think we should just appreciate them for the wonderful true beasts that they are. Absolutely fabulous. And, you know, I despise people using animals. I don't have an issue with people using service dogs, because service dogs such as petting dogs for children and hospitals, pet therapy dogs is fantastic because the dogs love being petted and the petters like petting. And everybody wants to share their love on an animal. And there's certain groups of animals that are very, very therapeutic. They have a radiance about them, don't they? You know, but we do put animals through hell, and they're not our possession to do that with. What right have we got to do that to a living creature? To enslave it for our benefit? I think it's quite disgusting. Yes, there are police dogs, but they only have a very short police service life, don't they? We have sniffer dogs, dog sniffing dogs. I mean, you know, it's phenomenal. Their sense of smell, apparently, may be wrong, but I think it's right, is up to 600 times better than ours. Not bad going. But that's just the average dog. You know, I'm yet to see a human as useful as that. The thing is, the therapy dogs and the animals, they don't get paid for it, do they? They don't get paid for their labour. They get paid in food and board and keep. But no, we are nowadays. I'm offended, and this is why I'm a loner, really, because I'm getting to the stage where I'm actually. It might sound dangerous, but I'm not. I'm just not interested in other people particularly. I find most people that I meet vacuous. I listened to a guy the other day. He was doing a video on YouTube. I thought, well, I'll have a watch of this, because you know I don't watch telly. And I thought, oh. Anyway, he was giving his preamble before he started doing his video. I thought this interesting topic he was going to talk about. But then he blew it. I formed in the first minute or so of the video my impression of the personality. I thought, oh, he's okay, you know, he's a middle-aged guy and, you know, semi-professional type, and he's an American. Well, that's thin ice for me, but there we go. I listened to what he had to say. And then he blew it. I turned the video off about 3 minutes in. Because, hi guys, and all this stuff, you know how they are. I mean, yeah, well, thanks for the great comments, yada, yada, yada. I've got to stop saying that. And then he said, I'm so excited, so excited. I thought he's got something exciting to say. I thought this will be interesting. And he said, you know, something like stupid, like, the Red Rangers are playing the Cubs tonight, and I can't wait for the match. I've got an hour to spend with you before I settle down and, you know, have a bud and watch the match. I'm thinking, he's talking baseball. Or American football. I don't know, which is a bloody difference. Oh yeah, one involves a stick. And here he is, supposedly a reasonably intelligent guy, can talk about a very good subject, and yet he is excited by a bunch of men kicking or hitting a bag of air around. And if his team lose, he's going to be depressed. If they win, he'll be elated. But whatever he watches these guys do on telly, whatever the outcome is, he will either be elated or depressed. But I thought he needs to get a life. Because the players don't give a shit that he's watching, number one. Number two is they don't care whether he goes and shoots himself in the head with a six-shooter. Because they've lost. The players don't care. They're getting paid well. They got their own jobs, their own families, yada, yada, yada. And here he is about to give a great video presentation about things. Not for stupid people. And then he's sort of shown his Achilles heel. He's getting excited, bless him, over a bunch of men with a stick, going to hit a leather ball and run. We used to, in our life, in my childhood, we used to call it rounders. You know, we have the diamond shape, and you have somebody who throws a ball, and you got a baseball bat, and you whack, or a smaller bat like rounders was half the size of a baseball bat, and you whack the ball, and you run like crazy. We used to play this in the summer at school. It was a kid's game. Get that? A kid's game. And the girlies used to play it as well, rounders. And then they got the bigger stick, didn't they? Made the field a little bit bigger for the men, called it baseball. Yeah, still rounders. You can't go saying that. Oh yeah, I do. You're playing rounders? No, son, we're playing baseball. And you think, well, get a life. Who, quite frankly, gives a shit? I don't. But I couldn't believe this guy. He just, you know, I just thought, that's it, click off. I'm not interested. Here he is. He's excited about it. And I don't particularly get excited about many things, quite frankly, because I see them as a complete distraction. And that's what sports is in our lifetime. It's keep the animals on the farm busy, 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 preoccupied with inconsequential bullshit that has no bearing on life, and just keep them busy. We don't want them thinking too much about what we're up to. Just keep them busy with trivial television, trivial education, trivial entertainment and sports. And that's why I turned the guy's video off. And unfortunately, there's more people in Britain so pro watching Dancing on Ice, bunch of prats on television, tell lie vision, yes, tell lies via vision, yes, television, I hate it. I really do despise this bloody liar in the corner of most people's lounges. And I just think, why can't people see what's happening? But sadly, it's the children now, you see, it's there. It's like, hello, most people's lounges I walk into, and I try not to walk into too many, there's a TV. In America, it's very hard to walk into somebody's household in America without going into a house where the television isn't on 24/7. It's broadcast 24/7. It is never bloody off. And it's pharmaceutical adverts, drug adverts, adverts. And it's not television. It's a total stream of adverts interspersed with the occasional bit of a sitcom. Okay? Or claptrap no news, CNN. They'll flash up something and they'll be off. And then you have to go through this rigmarole of having to listen to all this crap about adverts, and you can get you can get this headache pill, this gastro pill. It's all pharmaceutical advertising. No wonder they're a nation of drug addicts, because it's just massive funding, and it's Dr. Phil, Doctor this, the psycho that, the therapist this, and they're all lunatics. And America, I'm sorry to say, it's full of lunatics, unstable psychos, and their guns. They've got guns. It's the drug cultures, the pop culture, anything goes, man. And all the time, it's like lambs to the slaughter. It's certainly still a country where only the average intelligent human can become reasonably wealthy in America very quickly, because there used to be a saying, a fool and their money are easily parted. Oh boy, if you want fools, you go to America. Most teenagers you stop in the street can't tell you the last 3 American presidents. They can't tell you what is their Bill of Rights. If you show them a globe, heaven forbid you show them a proper flat globe, not ball, but if you give them a globe and say, point out where America is, and now show me Greece or Germany, they haven't a clue. But trust me, folks, it's not their fault. This is what governments do when they go doolah. Rogue government after rogue government after rogue government have been following the agenda of dumbing down the population so much you could cut their throat and tell them they look bloody great in red. Oh, thanks, man. High five. You know. But we shouldn't get so arrogant in the UK, because we're just turning into a nation of plebs. Do you know, it might offend, oh, heaven forbid, some of the most intelligent people in the United Kingdom are actually imported. I can see it. I've already sensed it. Now, I'm not a racist, okay? I don't agree entirely with Islam. I don't agree with the whole immigration thing. I don't. I'm a little Englander. I believe in borders, language and culture absolutely strictly down the line. Okay? I'm a little Englander. Make no bones about it. I'm not embarrassed but to say it. Okay? But I tell you what, I'm struggling, man. I'm struggling to find now people who are really nailed down, who are younger than 40. Anyone less than 40 is suspect. And I tell you who the intelligence were, and sadly it's true, is the very intelligent people are Muslim doctors. And if it wasn't for the Muslim doctors, and doctors from Pakistan, say, Pakistani doctors, and the Indian doctors, and the Polish doctors, the National Health Service would collapse. Collapse. But I do agree with vetting on a point system, allowing those to come here on points. Yet we turn away people, folks, from New Zealand and Australia like that. And we are so desperate for medical staff. Why can't we? If we allow people from Islamic countries to come here, why can't we have Polish doctors pouring into this country, or Lithuanian, or even Russian, or New Zealand, or Australian doctors? They don't stand a chance. And this is the insanity of all this nonsense. So it's ever likely I prefer my own company. I just think the world's gone insane. And I think I suppose it's this feeling of decadence. I hanker, man, I hanker, I don't want to live so long that I can just see the whole thing turning into a bag of shit that it is destined to become. I'm rather glad I am 58 coming up in July. July the 23rd, make a note. 58. I was born 1961 for those of you who can count. And you know, sadly, I'm still 18 in my head. That's the tragedy, isn't it? My mind writes checks, my body cannot cash. I still think young. But I've met people at my age that are already thinking 90. And they supposedly had their marbles too. But you're as young as you feel. I think you're as young as you think. More to the point. But I see people who are 58 and they look 70. Oh, thank God it's not me. I don't understand it all. I just know that I was born at a great time, and I suspect I'll go at a great time. But it's going to get worse before it gets better. But we must capture the good times, and that's what I wanted to do with my stories from the trenches. Oh man, what regrets I have about that. But it's still not too late for you to do something like that. Get yourself a digital recorder and go around your local nursing homes and rest homes. And they will love you forever if they can just talk and have somebody to talk to that doesn't interrupt them and asks, tell me about your life. Because that's all they've got to do. And that's all they reminisce about morning, noon and night as they stare dribbling out of the window with their catheters slowly filling up. Or they may sit in a wheelchair and wonder where their life's gone. Every one of them has such marvellous stories. And you're going to hear it live from the person's mouth and record it for posterity. What a most noble thing to do. So don't tell me you're bored. And I tell you, if you market that properly, it's going to make some seriously good money for you. Take a camera, take some batteries for your voice recorder in case the batteries go. Look and ask interesting questions and be honest in your approbation and praise. Because there's no shortage of those who want to sing their song into your microphone, trust me. And they will love you for asking. Try and do a good job. I'd love to hear if you're going to do this. I just regret missing out on the pilots that I wanted to immortalize. Probably they're in a charity shop somewhere, gathering dust on a tape. Very sad. What a pity, never mind. Life moves on, doesn't it? But if you want something to do that's worthwhile, turn the telly off, stop watching the idiots banging balls about. Get in your car, go to a nursing home and say, do you mind if I have a cup of tea with some of your inmates, residents. Yeah, I'm just going to record them, but I want them just to tell me their life story, and you'll be a welcome guest forever. Trust me, I haven't had one that turned me down. That says something to me. They just want someone who's going to listen, and that's a rarity nowadays. Catch you tomorrow, folks.